The castle of Veyroth lay quiet under the silver light of the blood moon, its shadows stretching like long fingers across the cold stones. The storm from the previous night had passed, leaving the air thick with mist and the scent of wet earth. In the castle's highest tower, Ilara stood at the window, staring out at the dark forest below. Her mind was a whirlwind of thoughts, fear, hope, and the strange pull she could not resist toward Draven. Draven entered the tower silently, as he often did, and leaned against the wall. The moonlight caught the sharp lines of his face, and for a moment Ilara felt that same strange thrill she had felt when they first met. "You are awake," he said softly. "I cannot sleep," she admitted. "Too many thoughts, too many fears." Draven stepped closer, his shadow falling across her. "Fears are natural, but they do not have to control you." She turned to face him, her eyes searching his. "And what about you? Do your fears ever control you?" He paused, considering her question. "I fear losing control. Losing what little I have of this world. But you make me want to face it, not run from it." Ilara felt her heart quicken. No one had ever spoken to her like that, with both honesty and care. And yet beneath the tenderness in his words there was the weight of centuries, of battles fought and power wielded. She wondered if she could ever truly be part of his world, or if her curse would always make her a shadow standing beside a man made of fire and darkness. The next morning, Draven led her into the forest, a place forbidden to all but the closest of his advisors. The trees were tall and ancient, their branches twisting like gnarled fingers toward the sky. The forest seemed alive, whispering secrets in the wind, and Ilara felt a thrill of fear and excitement as they walked among the shadows. "There is a place here," Draven said, his voice low, "where the curse that binds you can be challenged. But it is not easy. You must be brave, and willing to face yourself." Ilara's stomach twisted with both dread and hope. "And if I fail?" Draven's eyes softened. "Then we try again. I will not let you face this alone." They came to a clearing where a small pool reflected the blood moon above. Strange symbols were carved into the stones surrounding it, glowing faintly with an otherworldly light. Draven took her hand, and Ilara felt a shock run through her, as if the connection between them was more than human. "This ritual," Draven explained, "will bind our strengths together. It may break the curse, or it may show us the limits of our power. Either way, you must trust yourself, and me." Ilara nodded, her heart pounding. She had spent years hiding from the world, hiding from herself. Now, standing beside Draven in the heart of the forest, she realized that this was a chance, perhaps the only chance, and to reclaim her life. The ritual began as the moon climbed higher. They stood together, hands clasped, and Draven whispered words in an ancient language, the sound like music woven from shadows. Ilara closed her eyes, focusing on her own strength, on the courage she had discovered within herself since arriving at the castle. A wind rose, circling around them, lifting Ilara's hair and the edges of Draven's cloak. The symbols on the stones glowed brighter, and the water in the pool shimmered with an inner light. Ilara felt the curse within her stir, a dark, heavy presence that had defined her life for so long. She faced it not with fear, but with determination. "I will not let you control me any longer," she whispered. "I am stronger than you believe." Draven's hand tightened around hers. "Together," he said. "We are stronger together." The pool's light burst suddenly, blinding and warm, and Ilara felt herself lifted, as if the forest itself held her up. The curse screamed, a voice of shadows and sorrow, but she did not falter. And in that moment she understood. The curse had never been a prison but a challenge, and with Draven's support she could face it. When the light dimmed, the pool lay calm and still, reflecting only the red moon above. Ilara's heart was still racing, but she felt different, lighter, freed. She looked at Draven, whose expression was a mixture of relief and admiration. "You did it," he said softly. "We did it," she corrected him, smiling, the first true smile in many years. Their bond, forged in fear and strength, had grown into something neither had expected. Ilara felt a connection to Draven that went beyond admiration or desire. It was trust, respect, and a shared understanding of pain and strength. Yet even as they celebrated their success, shadows lingered. The curse had been broken, yes, but the forest whispered of other dangers, the past never truly gone. and the world beyond the castle walls always waiting to test their courage. In the days that followed, Alara and Draven returned to the castle, their relationship deepening with every shared conversation, every quiet glance across the halls. They trained together, walked together, and sometimes sat in silence, letting the presence of each other speak louder than words. One evening, as the sun set behind the mountains, painting the sky in shades of fire and blood, Draven took Alara's hand. "You have changed," he said. "Not because I made you, but because you chose to face the darkness. That courage, that is more powerful than anything I possess." Alara looked down at their clasped hands. "And you?" she asked softly. "Have you changed?" Draven's lips curved in a shadow of a smile. "I have learned that even a king, even an alpha, cannot face the world alone. Sometimes the strongest power comes from the bond we share with others." For the first time in centuries, he allowed himself a moment of vulnerability, and Alara felt her own heart swell with both love and awe. Together they had faced the storm, both literal and metaphorical, and had come through stronger, wiser, and closer than ever before. But the world beyond the castle was not idle. Rumors of a neighboring kingdom's aggression reached Veyrath, whispers of dark magic and betrayal that threatened the fragile peace. Draven and Alara knew that their bond would be tested again, not by curses, but by the harsh realities of power, loyalty, and the responsibility that came with strength. In the quiet hours of the night, Alara stood on the castle walls looking out at the horizon. Draven joined her, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. The wind tugged at their cloaks and the stars shone like distant fire. "Whatever comes," Draven said, his voice low and steady, "we face it together. No more hiding, no more fear. You are not alone, Alara." She leaned against him, feeling the warmth and strength radiating from his body. "And you are not alone either," she whispered. "We will face it together." They stayed there for a long time, watching the sky, letting the quiet speak for them. In that moment, the castle, the forest, and even the blood moon seemed to bow to their bond. Fragile, yet unbreakable. As dawn approached, a raven landed on the tower's edge, black feathers gleaming in the first light. It croaked once, a warning perhaps, or a herald of events yet to come. Draven's eyes narrowed. "Trouble approaches," he said. Alara looked at him, calm and resolute. "Then we will meet it as we always have, together." The castle stirred with life below, and the wind carried whispers of a world waiting, dangerous, beautiful, and full of challenges. But for the first time, Alara felt ready. No curse, no fear, no shadow could control her. She had found strength, courage, and a bond that could not be broken. And Draven, the Alpha King feared by all, had found not just a companion, but a partner in every sense. Someone who could stand beside him, challenge him, and love him without fear. The sun rose over Veyrath, golden and brilliant, and the world seemed both larger and smaller than before, filled with endless possibilities and unknown dangers. Yet as Alara and Draven stood together hand in hand, they knew one truth above all. They were no longer alone, and whatever came next, they would face it side by side. The kingdom of Veyrath was draped in shadow, where the moonlight barely touched the stone walls of the castle. Within these cold halls, whispers of power, betrayal, and ancient curses moved like the wind, unseen but ever present. No one dared to speak openly, for the Alpha King, Draven, ruled with a presence that bent men and women alike to his will. He was feared, yet strangely admired, a man whose strength seemed endless, and whose loneliness was hidden behind his cold, dark eyes. Alara entered the castle gates with her head held high, but her heart beat like a drum in her chest. She had heard the stories of Draven, of his temper, his brilliance, and the cruelty he could command when crossed. And yet she could not deny a strange pull toward him, a magnetic energy she could neither understand nor resist. She had long believed herself untouchable, cursed to live a life without children, a life that seemed empty in ways that words could never capture. The guards at the entrance bowed but did not speak, and the silence that followed seemed heavier than the stone walls themselves. Alara's cloak swirled around her as she moved through the corridors, each step echoing like a heartbeat in the still air. She was led into the throne room, a grand hall of shadows and flickering torches, where King Draven sat like a dark statue carved from night itself. He was taller than she had imagined, his shoulders broad, his posture regal yet relaxed. Dark hair fell around his face, and his eyes were the color of storm clouds, sharp and piercing, yet holding an odd softness when they lingered on her. "Ilara," he said, his voice low and controlled, "I have heard much about you, most of it exaggerated." She lifted her chin, meeting his gaze without flinching. "And you, your majesty? How much have you heard of me?" Her voice was steady, but inside a storm of nerves raged. Draven smiled. Not a warm smile, but one that held a dangerous promise. "Enough to know you are unlike the others." "I like that." Ilara felt a chill run down her spine. There was something in his eyes, a depth that both unsettled and intrigued her. She had always kept people at a distance, but with him she felt exposed, as if he could see the parts of herself she had hidden even from herself. "You are the Alpha King," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I am a guest in your halls. I do not wish to trouble you." "Trouble?" His laugh was soft, yet it filled the room with weight. "Do not mistake my attention for anger. I simply wish to understand." Days passed, and Ilara found herself drawn into the rhythm of the castle. Draven observed her closely, sometimes from across the hall, sometimes in moments she thought he did not notice. He tested her wit in conversations, challenging her opinions, pushing her to think and react quickly. She in turn resisted, deflecting with careful words, but she could feel the tension grow like the tightening of a bowstring. One night the moon hung low and blood-red over the castle walls. Ilara wandered into the gardens where silver leaves whispered in the cold wind. Draven appeared from the shadows, silent as the night itself, and stood beside her. "You should not wander alone," he said, his voice gentle now, almost a whisper. "I can take care of myself," she replied, her voice quiet but firm. Draven's eyes softened, though only slightly, and he studied her in the moonlight. "I do not doubt it, but even the strongest sometimes need guidance." Ilara turned to face him, and for the first time she let herself feel the weight of his presence fully. "Why do you care?" she asked. "Because," he said, stepping closer, "you are unlike anyone I have met, and I have met many." His gaze lingered on hers, intense and unwavering. "You are cursed, are you not?" Her heart skipped a beat. She had never revealed her secret to anyone, the curse that made it impossible for her to bear children. How did he know? Yet there was no malice in his voice, only a strange kind of understanding. "I cannot," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "It is why I came here, to seek some kind of purpose, perhaps." Draven's lips curved in a shadow of a smile. "Purpose," he echoed. "I can offer you that, Ilara, and more if you dare accept it." The tension between them was electric, a delicate thread that could snap with the wrong word or touch. Yet in that garden beneath the cold moon, there was an undeniable connection. Two lonely souls drawn together by fate, desire, and the secrets they held. In the following days, Draven's fascination with Ilara grew. He sought her counsel, involved her in matters of the court, and allowed her glimpses into the shadows of his life. A childhood of loneliness, a throne built on fear and the heavy weight of immortality that few could imagine. Ilara, in turn, found herself opening, sharing stories of her past, her curse, and the longing she carried for something more than solitude. It was during one of their walks along the castle's high walls that she finally confronted the truth of her fear. "I cannot give you what you want," she said softly, the wind tugging at her cloak. "I cannot have children. I am broken in ways you cannot fix." Draven's hand brushed hers lightly, a fleeting touch that made her heart leap. "I do not seek only what you cannot give," he said, his voice calm, patient. "I see more than that. I see you." Her breath caught. No one had ever truly looked at her before. No one had ever seen the sorrow she carried, the longing she buried beneath years of pride and fear. And yet here was Draven, a man of immense power, yet vulnerable in ways he seldom revealed, offering her more than desire, offering her recognition, respect, and a strange, thrilling kind of hope. One evening, a storm gathered over the castle, lightning flashing across the sky as if the heavens themselves were clashing in judgment. Ilara wandered through the halls, unable to sleep, when she stumbled upon Draven in the throne room, gazing at the fire. "You cannot escape the storm outside," he said without turning. "No," she admitted, "nor the one inside." Draven finally looked at her and his gaze softened. "I am not here to fight you, Ilara, but I am here to offer you a choice." She frowned. unsure of what he meant. To stay in the shadows, hiding from life, he said, or to step forward, with all your fear and your sorrow, and embrace the possibility of something greater. I can give you strength, guidance, enough to face what has cursed you for so long. Ilara's heart pounded. The words were both terrifying and irresistible. She wanted to run, to protect herself from the storm of emotions he stirred. Yet a deeper part of her, the part she had long denied when wanted to stay, to see where this dangerous path could lead. Draven stepped closer, his presence overwhelming but comforting at the same time. I have enough for both of us, he said, his voice low, almost a whisper that seemed to echo in the walls around them. Her breath caught. Those words, simple yet charged with promise, resonated deep within her. She felt fear, yes, but also an unspoken hope she had not allowed herself to feel in years. Could she trust him? Could she allow herself to be seen, truly seen, and perhaps loved? The night stretched on, and the storm outside seemed to mirror the storm within her. And though she did not yet know what the future held, she could not deny the pull between them, a pull that was as dark and dangerous as it was irresistible. As she left the throne room, Ilara felt a new resolve forming within her. She would not let fear control her. She would not let her curse define her. Perhaps, just perhaps, with Draven at her side, she could discover strength she never knew she had. And in doing so, change the course of her life forever. And somewhere in the shadows, Draven watched her go, his eyes lingering on her retreating figure. There was a weight in his chest he had not felt in centuries, a mixture of longing and determination. He knew that this woman, so fierce, so wounded, so alive, would either be his greatest triumph or his greatest peril. The fire in the hearth crackled and died, leaving the throne room in darkness. And yet, the spark between them, fragile, dangerous, and impossible to ignore, continued to burn. End of Part 1. Cliffhanger. Ilara now knows Draven can give her what she thought impossible. The question remains, will she trust him, or will the weight of fear and the curse push her away before the connection between them can grow? The storm outside rages on, echoing the storm in their hearts.